Well, if I'm shooting a video in the wintertime with this much snow and cold, then you know something's down. Hey folks, it's Ben. This will be an awesome video, honestly, if the wind noise doesn't drown me out. Hey, a car. That's rare. Anyway, I got a driveway that's full of snow, and by full I mean maybe 6 inches. And then I have all this awesome, and all of this awesome. And then I got snow again. And then I got my trails to various places that I've had to hand shovel. Well, all this snow blowing is courtesy of the electric guy I bought over here. Got a video to it. I'll forget to link it here. But long story short, it's a pretty nice one. I think I got it for like 20, 21 bucks or whatever. That's great, but the cord only goes that far. And ditto with the other part of the driveway there. So that's no good. I have a gasoline powered snowblower. So what the heck's going on with that? Well, I only work on it maybe 2 hours a year. I bought it 2 or 3 years ago for about, I think, $84 under the premise that it didn't run. Well, it doesn't run. And for the 4 hours I've put into it, I have not been able to get it to run reliably. The reliability part's the question. So it's even got electric start, so I'm not even yanking on this thing like a demon. But long story short, it loves to backfire. And when it does run, it's super hot, like it's super lean. And so messing with, I took the carb, tore it apart. It's clean as a whistle. Like the carburetor is mint. So what's going on here? Well, the problem reared its head yesterday, part of the 2 hours I was working on it. I had my fingers over the carb, trying to get some gas into the thing, and the suction disappeared. I'm like, oh, that's a problem. We might have something more than just a carburetor issue. She's got spark, lots of spark, very sparky motor. But between the backfiring, the loss of suction, I think I might have a mechanical issue with this thing. Hey, look, a dump version. So this one came out of the dump. I got it for the carburetor to stick on this thing, but it's actually in worse shape, of course, because it's from the dump. But it kind of gives me a quick overview that it did have, and I don't have it anymore, a plastic cam. Or at least the lobes were plastic. So this is the gear off the crank. There'd be a 2-to-1 gear here that would power the camshaft and the rocker arms. And talking to my dad and stuff, and it's like, you know what? The fact that she's backfiring so bad, and then she runs a little bit sometimes, and then she doesn't, and she's lean. You know, maybe my valve train isn't behaving like it should, and the intake valve's staying open longer than it should, or not long, or you know, the lack of vacuum would indicate that maybe even the valve hung open. Not sure, but there could be something going on with this. So the long story short of it, I think I said that twice already, is I'm gonna pull the motor. And we'll bench work on it because it's just, this machine here is kind of a pain. It is set up for snow blowing, and the dream hit me last night, and I'll go show you what the dream is. I've got this sweet 5.7 horsepower Subaru I'm not currently using. It's brand new. I put it on this fall for the tiller after everything was tilled, and it runs great and it works the tiller fine. One of the pros of this motor is that the pulley isn't actually set screwed on there. It's got a keyway, but that pulley just kind of floats on that shaft, so that's easy to get off. It's 4 bolts in and that's out. So why don't we try to put the Subaru on the snowblower? Thing I gotta check for is to make sure that the shaft diameter is the same, and that I can get the pulley off the Briggs & Stratton on that snowblower. But hey, why don't we just go ahead and stick a summer motor on a winter vehicle, which honestly it'll be fine. It's got 10W30 in it, probably ought to dump it down to 5W30, but it's like 32 degrees outside, so it's actually not even that cold. So that's today's project. Let's put this awesome Subaru, which I'm gonna have to dig out from all this other stuff, never mind the horde of stuff over here, get that motor out, put it on the snowblower, and hopefully go snowblowing. I have to do some measuring because it's not just your convenient awesomeness here. We actually have a threaded connection on the end of it. So I'll lift that bolt off the motor. It does have a keyway, which is machined or pressed in, forged, whatever keyway fits into. I knew we had 2 belts. This one is for the auger mechanism. So when you squeeze the handle up here, it tightens that belt. Whoops, sorry. Tightens that belt and away you go. It's putting now friction on that pulley, spinning the 2-stage auger system. Cool. This bolt is whatever. It's just to keep the belts on. I'm cool with that not being included, but this one might be a problem. What it does actually is it holds tension on this drive belt and it spins this large wheel down here, and that's how this guy works. You see that other wheel there? There's a one in there. I don't know if I can get you to see it. You can kind of see the curve of it. When you squeeze the clutch on that, you're actually squeezing that plate into that wheel, and that's connected to these guys. And depending on where your speed is where that wheel is. So reverse actually goes beyond the center point of that one, and faster speeds it goes farther out here. So this is always turning per engine speed, and then you just squish it into that rubber tire there. So that's a little bit of a more complicated mechanism. Not hard to change if we have the belt tensioner for it, or are able to somehow mount the belt tensioner for that. Otherwise, we can still do the motor swap. We just won't have power drive, which, well, that's a lot less fun. Not unstoppable, but a lot less fun. So I'm gonna pull this bolt and measure how far we are out, although let's see how we're bolted in here. I'm not even sure about that, geez. Looks like we might be screwed in from the bottom, so we might have to, yeah, we got less fun going on now too. We might have to undo these bolts here and pull that plate off to get to the motor. Bolts, nuts, bolt, something. So we have, it's not as easy clear cut as I hoped it would be, but it still makes for an interesting video. So I'm gonna yank this off. Looks like another 13, holding the motor so it doesn't start. And let's see if might as well at that point just take the belt off if I can too. Take that over to the bring a half inch, 13, whatever, over to that Subaru motor and see if we can yank that puppy out and see where we are at with that. So I'm going to pull this off, and I'll meet you at Quonset 2 at the Subaru. The only surprise down here was, and I caught it before actually anything happened dangerously, was that there's a spring, and if it will come up, it probably won't because it likes being down in the engine hole. There's a spring that clamps on here that pulls on this pulley to keep the drive belt tight. So I don't actually have to release this one. I removed the belt guard. And then this belt here, just this slides on and off. It's free. It's free to slide back and forth. So that worked out cool. It is held on with a bolt. And then we have this pulley, which is also free. So that's going to be an easy swap over. But now I need to measure that shaft diameter. That'll tell me right out of the gate if we're in business or not. So let me measure that. And the dial calipers put us at 3/4 of an inch, so far so good. Let me take the bolt and grab this pulley, and I'll bring over some 1/2 inch / 13 millimeters and get that Subaru off the tiller and do some measurements. So the big reveal, you pop the key off there. Will this pulley, of course it will, fit on the shaft? The answer is yes. Will there be lots of extra space? No. It's maybe, looks like maybe it's a 1/2 inch. I think I measured the other one. It's like actually it's about the same size, honestly, as the other one. And mounting point for our belt tightener. So that's awesome. But I think these bolts, and I tried it with the, first thing I did actually was, where did it go? Here it is. The end bolt on the other crank is a little bit bigger, the hole, than this one. It does have a fitting, so, and it's probably fine thread. Yep. So I have to find something with a fine thread just to keep this from wandering away, right? Because it's loose, but it has a built-in key. But we're gonna have to find something to keep this from, technically not, actually. I mean, in theory, the belt tension's gonna keep it where it needs to be on the motor, but it's thinking ahead. That's awesome. That means we can keep our belt tensioner on the drive, and this looks like, even if it comes out some, it's still fine. So we're awesome there. The only other catch would be height. I didn't check for height, but I'm gonna carry this thing back to the shop and see whatever pretend mechanism they have to put bolts in, if I can mimic it somehow. So if that's the case, we're more than halfway there. So heavy lugging time, carry this thing out to the shop, Quonset 1, this is Quonset 2, and see if we can, how that other motor is attached, I guess is the next question. Good news, everyone. So this bolt for the belt tensioner is the same size and in the same approximate location as the Briggs motor. And technically the shaft is the same length. So even butted up there, because that bolt, this one, was so long, part of it, see, it only has that much engagement. That's because it did hang out here quite a bit. So that's cool too. So the motor is gonna be fine. This guy's free. We'll leave the belts right where they are. There's nothing else actually attaching this besides the headlight connection to the frame besides the 4 bolts here. But the question is are those threaded? Can I replace them with bolts? Is the other question. And how are they in there? So I will figure that out and I will see you in a second. But so far so good. I mean, sitting the motor somewhere is easy enough, hopefully. If we can get some compatible bolt holes and getting that shaft far enough forward for our assemblies here, we're looking okay. My worry is that you have this top plate here and then you have this plate here, but using my fingers to actually feel in underneath, it actually, this top plate avoids the bolts. So they are literally just bolted to this plate and this is bolted to the snowblower. Looking through the other side here and up, those bolts aren't holding anything in. So they are literally just holding this plate, and this plate holds the motor. Otherwise we're gonna have to fire something in on the front ones, which is easy enough, but then the back ones would be a bear. Looks like these, and they look like a 15. They're that, so let's throw a ratchet on those and unplug this. I'm gonna unplug this now before I forget. The motor should lift off. Wouldn't that be cute? That makes sense too from an assembly standpoint, to have that come in, bam, bolt it on, assembly moves on. So, okay, 6 bolts, see you in a sec. Amazing design, bravo, whomever you are. That worked awesome. 6 bolts, the only catch, no catch really, the spring retainer for the belt tensioner uses the 2 bolts on this side, sit here, that will put the spring for the belt tension for the drive. Other than that though, that's it. So the motor is completely free. The fantastic news is that it is also, well, not fantastic, but this motor happens to be bolted to the threads on the block, but that's okay. I'll use bolts on my Subaru, and I'm gonna now, at this point, release this motor from its ends, and then we can play with it, because, oops, there's a locking washer there. But that's just for the belt protector. So we can release this motor, put the Subaru on here, park it for another video. This cover should be able to come off because the roller bearing is actually inside, so we can actually just boop that off and see how our little valve train's doing. This is an overhead cam, so it actually would have a chain and all that hot stuff going on. But anyway, sidetrack. By the way, these are 13s, not 15s, and I'm guessing these are 13s as well. My 13 wrench says on 9/16. 13 says, yep. So they're close enough. So off we come with that, and we'll mount this motor here. Note the tolerance of the shaft is a little bit forward of the front here. We need that for belt alignment, but we can always slot those holes too if we need to move the motor around. This is what makes custom work custom, is just slamming the motor down here, trying to get my bolts to line up, and I just found some in my scrap bin there. Notice though that this and this hole are fine. This hole's cool, but where this would normally be here, there's nothing there. It's inside a little bit. And looking at my motor, the original motor, sure enough, on this corner here, it has a slotted hole, and then it has the actual drilled hole and tapped hole for the actual mount. So it could do that for universal mounting, but the reality is nope, it's got to be in some. So you'll have to put a bolt on. If you're going to use that motor on something else, you'd have to put a bolt there anyway. And what I have to do is I will drill a hole. I think it's right there. That'll be close enough. We'll drill a hole like this here, and that'll get us where we can bolt this thing down and put it on the snowblower. I'd like to do it before day stops happening. It looks bright there, but you know, it's 4 o'clock, so 3:30. I'm trying to move along here, you know what I mean? In annoying land, this is where we live now. So these holes are cut out for the bolt part of where we bolt our motor on. And it looks square enough, but it actually isn't. See this area where it looks like it's chipped? Well, long story short, that adjusted hole that I just drilled for the head of the bolt hits here. So I actually have to take my grinder now and pull this, cut this open so that my tray hits all three on that side. It's just forward a hair, like it's not on it much, but it's enough that it won't bolt up. So I got to bolt that up, and then we can go to the really exciting getting the belts on part. But a little grinding first, a little this, little that. So there's that. So let's slide the motor back on. I lucked upon the last little bit of the puzzle here. So this is the fine threaded bolt that was in the Briggs & Stratton, and just digging through crap, I said, oh, I wonder if this one will fit, and it does. So how about that for blind luck? So it does actually screw into the front of this Subaru, which don't quote me on the size. I was gonna have to look it up and buy one, but this actually goes quite cleanly in there, and it's not grossly long. So between this and my washer, all I'm hoping to do, oops, that's not it, here it is keep it from walking out, right? I still have to put the belt tensioner on for the drive, but I just want it to not walk away. And I'm sure the engine rotates in a manner that allows it to self-tighten. Otherwise, they would have put a left-handed thread in here, and that's not the case. So I will snug that girl down. And hopefully, belt misalignment. Now see, it's out of alignment here, but as soon as you hit the go trigger, my wheel squeezes up, it's perfect. So I'm guessing it's kind of meant to be that way. And there's enough play on this girl that it shouldn't be an issue, but we'll see. Oops, sorry. We'll see. It's got a wide unit on it, so I think we're probably going to be okay on that one too. And the motor's where it's supposed to be. Belt tensioner goes on. Hook the wheels back up because I pulled them out to get to these bolts. Man, we are close. I'm so confident that I put my earmuffs on. I'm ready for this thing to start. Now that being said, haven't started the Subaru up yet. I'm sure it's got like 30 minutes of runtime on it, so I'm sure it's fine. And the oil says that it has lots of nice 10W30 in it. It's still clean. Still got to do the first oil change on it. That's how young it is. The belt assembly looks great. The tensioner's on. Alignment's okay. Everything in alignment's okay. They're V-belts, so they're built for that. Wheels are on. That's on. Motor's bolted down. Subaru always gets me with this. So I already turned the ignition on. Yep, I'm thinking ahead. Neutral, more or less. Sweet. Forgot what these are for. We'll figure that out as we go. I gotta move it. I got a path clear to even go outside. That's how confident I am of this thing. Subaru is an easy motor to run. I love it to death. Choke is on. Fuel is a go. I store these typically full with seafoam, so I'm pretty confident she'll be fine. That's on-ish. Let's see how we do. Let's see what we've forgotten, right? Exhaust is gonna go forward. That'll be interesting. Let's see. Here we go. Aha. Nope. Am I forgetting anything is a question. I might have been a little quick on the gas here. If the bowl did dry up. All right, and of course, look at this already. Bloody knuckle thanks to this guy and that guy. Of course, the pull was on the other side and higher on the other motor, but let's let this sit for a second. I'll tripod you while I do that, and hopefully things are filling up. That was obviously the issue. Filled the choke too quick though. Ah, what a beauty. Gosh, I love this Subaru. Both alignment seems to be fine. They're engaged, both of them. That's happy news. Probably should record right over it. So I have a driveway to clear. So that's an engine swap, overhead cam, kicking it there. I'll leave the belt cover off for now so debris gets in there, but really I just want to make sure alignment's okay and we don't shred a belt. But we got to cover that up. Hot dog. Beautiful, like I say, lots of controls, expensive little guy. Now powered by Subaru. Hooray. Questions? Leave them. Comments? Leave them. Subscribe to my channel, Turbo231, for more awesome. Let's do a time lapse of some snow throwing. What do you say about that? And I'll see you guys next time.